Alright, we're gonna look at 8.24b. I already looked at the Akali, the Pike. I didn't look at Caitlyn yet. But Akali now briefly obscures opponents. Can see her outline but not target her before stealthing or re-stealthing, even if any still enough true sight. So that's pretty nice. You can see where she's going in the stealth. And then just position yourself accordingly. Like, you can see which way she's going. I don't know if that lasts so long, or if that's just like permanent. You can just permanently see her. Hopefully you can just permanently see her. When I was reading this, I was thinking I just prefer this for them to change the stealth timing, which they're actually doing. So I actually don't like this change, knowing that they're changing the stealth timing and nerfing that. Target abilities and uncancelled basic attacks, Nasus queued, no longer cancel when Akali stealth or re-stealth. This is so nice. There are so many times when I'm playing Kassadin, or really just anybody with a targeted ability, and like I'll throw it, the mana will be used, and then it just gets cancelled, and the mana is used already, and my ability does nothing. So I just waste 80 mana and don't get anything out of it at all. So, and it was super obnoxious to be playing against like that. So re-stealth timing, this is what they should have hit. Frickin' when she came out, they needed to hotfix her with this, because there was almost no counterplay when she was inside of her shroud. She would come out, hit you with a Q auto, and then she'd go back in before you can even react. Or at least, like, for most people, they couldn't react. So some champs, like, they have AoE abilities, they can kind of react because they can hit her in the shot anyways. But with people who with like targeted abilities, or they rely on their basic attacks, it was almost no time for you to really take advantage. So restart timing going from 0.9 to 0.625 at levels 1 through 12. Now is 1 to 0.625 at 1 to 30 minutes. This is pretty huge, because most of the game is going to be this. This is going to be most of the game. It's going to be 1 through 20. That's pretty much what you're looking at, because most games don't last 30 minutes, and it's actually the same at 30 minutes. It looks like it's the same at I think that's 3rd rank. Okay, so it's not the same at 3rd rank. So they actually added a rank in here. 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5. This is 4. Yeah, so they actually added a rank in here. Basically just added they added the first one, the 1 second. That's pretty nice. That means early game you have like a second, basically a second. And you might say, "Oh, but you have 0.9 over here." Okay, that doesn't mean anything. that means nothing. It's not, you're not missing the opportunity because of 100 milliseconds, most likely. And then 11 is where it's 11 you would probably be at like level 9 or level 12. So 11 is actually pretty significant nerf as well. And about 20 minutes should be level 12. So 20 minutes, it's like a slight nerf, but really not like a huge change. 30 minutes, you're the same champion. Well, not the same champion, because you have this now, and you also have this. Like, I would call this a bug fix, to be honest. But I guess they intended this. You know, it's weird. Let me just put on my stream. And patch down. Okay. Yeah, so 20-30 minutes, she's kind of the same thing. Her shot's the same. They reverted the duration change. That's like, this duration change isn't what she needed anyways. It's the stealth timing was what she needed instead of the duration change. So I really like they're changing the duration. I think she actually is going to need some considerable buffs So I really don't like that they're actually doing a nerf here and then technically a nerf here in some matchups and in some situations, and then a huge nerf here with the re-stealth timing, right? But only giving her back 1 second on her shroud. Well, I guess 2 if you get the maximum extension on it. But most of the time you're only dipping out once or twice, so you're not getting the maximum extension. I think you have to dip out like 4 or 5 times, like dip in and out 4 or 5 times to get the maximum extension. So I would like to see some buffs to her, actually. And you might say, no, she's broken. She's actually not. She has like a 46% win rate as we're speaking right now. She's actually horrible. She's not even being banned in Platinum anymore. And I'd suspect she's probably not being banned in Diamond either. She might be banned in like Masters Challenger, but that's just because people can play assassins really well at that MMR. You could argue like Diamond 2 players as well, I suppose. I guess it depends on who you're talking to. Like a gold player is always gonna think like silver and bronze players suck, right? It's subjective. So Pike needs some mage in there. Pike is our execute threshold is way too high, way too high. I think magic resist growth 2 to 1.5. So he's losing. He'd be losing like. He'd only be losing like 5, 6, 7 magic resist for the majority of the game. He's not really losing anything there. That's not significant. Like I said, nerfs mid Pike though, because it's gonna take a little bit more damage from AP champions. So this is more so a hit to mid lane Pike. Like they say here, League's assassin support has become problematic mid laner since relatively reliable performance in bot lane. Nerfs below are all tailored to hit mid Pike the hardest, whether by the strengths mid laners need, protection against burn, magic damage, wave clear, or the strengths Pike has an easier time occurring in mid. Yeah, so this is really just a nerf to mid lane. That's all that is. Bone Skewer. I didn't actually look at this. Minion and monster damage. 50 to secondary targets. Also, minions included. To 30%. Okay, so he actually will not be able to wave clear at all. And his wave clear already sucked. His wave clear was already horrendous. It was so bad. Even with Tiamat, it wasn't that good. You have to like use everything. And you can't just go ahead and use your Q and E in front of the mid laner to try and clear the wave, because he's just gonna jump on you. You're just gonna die. Like those are your E's is your form of escape. Because if you just use your W, he's just gonna see you, right? They're just gonna go right on top of you. They're gonna see you. Right. But the point is why it's so strong is you can use your E to get away, and then you can use your W, and they're like, well, which way did he go? Right, that's kind of why, part of why he's so strong. And so they nerfing his wave clear, which is good. Like, he shouldn't even be a mid laner because he has low wave clear and because he has high cooldowns. Like, really high cooldowns. Okay, so our execute threshold 6 to 9 unchanged. I actually don't like this. They probably need to take some damage off of his early execute, because this is actually the strongest, right? Because flat damage is stronger early game, right? 30 damage means something at level 1. 30 damage doesn't mean anything when you're like level 10, level 11, level 12, right? Level 13. The 30 damage is nothing when you're that level, because everybody has a solid chunk of health. Right, so I really do not like that they did not change the early game. And it looks like they changed his level to 10 to 13. Going from 410 to 500 to 400 to 470. This is not enough. He's still going to be strong. He might not be that strong mid lane anymore, but he's probably still going to be played support. He's probably still going to be a solo queue menace. 14 to 18. This needs to get hit hard. 525 to 605. So it's nerfed by 55 damage. It's kind of good, but like again, because of the way this scales, right? This it's not just the 550. It's the 550, and then you get some extra. You get some extra execute when you take lethality, and I think it might scale off AD as well. I'm not sure. So it's not really 500. It's really probably like 700, 800, which is way too high. So I would have preferred them to hit the early game with some flat nerfs and a little bit with the like keep these mid game nerfs. Keep this 10 to 13. This is fine, but also hit the early game and hit the lethality scaling on it, because they added lethality scaling with his execute. And that's the reason he's suddenly gotten so strong when they changed him. Mid-Pike got so strong is because you can just stack lethality items and execute you at 800 health when you only have 1,200. So it's really hard to deal with, because it just kills you. You just take a chunk of damage from somebody else, and then it's like, oh, here you go. You just press R, and you have to flash it. You have to. You need to flash it. Sometimes he could just do the damage on his own. That's for the most part. He could probably do that if he's ahead. Caitlyn. We're going to give Caitlyn some laning power and build over Beastmaker's first hit. And punching up the unique strength. Ace of the hole. Brings the Sheriff's Arsenal. Base damage 30 to 190, 50 to 210. That's pretty nice. I actually think Caitlyn's in a good spot because of the turret plating changes. Because she's one of the only champions that actually benefits from pushing in bottom lane to like a good extent, to the point where you actually just want to constantly push the other people in if you can help it, and you're not going to die to a gank. Like, you have a flash up and you could just flash away from like the Jarvan, or like, you know, whoever it is, right? Flash away from the Lee Sin. That'd be a better example, right? You can just flash the Lee Sin Q. So say she has flash up, she can just constantly shell the other people in and constantly just hit the turret. She can take demolish, because you can take resolve secondary now, because you can choose your stats. You can take resolve secondary and she's not punished, right? She can still go 9% attack speed and then AD and then armor. She can do that. She could do that, and she can completely annihilate turrets, and headshot works on turrets too. So she can just wreck towers, especially against something like a Lucian with super short range and really minimal wave clear. She can just keep shoving people in, and she could take first turret at like 10 minutes, even with turret plating on. Like, it's not gonna take her that long. With demolish is pretty big. It's pretty good because of that reason. Ratio unchanged. I really hate it when Riot does this. Like, I really do not like it. It's kind of annoying, because it's like, oh, they changed base damage on Q, and then they're like, oh, the ratio is unchanged, guys. It's like I don't know who would be reading this and thinking because they changed the base damage, oh, automatically that means they changed the ratio. Well, no. Like, no, the ratio's unchanged. So why do they put this in here? I guess people think that all the other stuff gets changed too automatically. I don't, like, they do this a lot too. Like, they do it all the time. It's like them changing Pike's Q and then saying, oh, but we didn't change the damage, but they'll write it on here anyways. You know, they'll write it on there anyway. It's like, oh. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they do that. Pass-through damage 67% to 60%. Wait, that's a nerf, right? They buffed the base damage, but they changed the percent damage? Why? Or is that better? That's a nerf, I'm pretty sure. That is a nerf. I mean, it's probably a buff just to her wave clear like a little bit, but just if you're just looking at the 67 to 60, that kind of takes away from the base damage buff. But she is already pretty good, so what can you really say? He's in a whole range, 2,000, 3,000 to 3,500 all ranks. Whoa. Wow, okay. She can really pick people off now. Like, if the jungler's skirmishing and he gets the guy low, you pretty much guarantee you kill him with his R, unless somebody goes and blocks. But that's pretty huge. That means you could be sitting in lane, and say your jungler goes to invade the enemy blue buff, like assuming your blue side. That is really powerful. That is really, really powerful, because you can do a decent chunk of somebody's health before you even get to this skirmish, because of the range buff. Like, this guarantees you're going to be getting it off. Like, it's even a buff at her rank 3. That is a huge, huge buff. Corki, our damage increase. This champion sucks. Please buff him. 25 damage. That's actually really good. That's actually really good. Because you gotta understand that Q hit an enemy champion like a ton of times. You hit them like 10 times with this Q, right? This 25 damage buff becomes a 250 damage buff. Now that is considerable. I mean, to be fair, that's at rank 3, I guess. But wait, is that that's at rank 1 as well? Yeah, it's just 25. What was that? 25, 15, 15, 15, I think. Yeah, it's 25, 15, and then 15. I've never seen them do something like that. That's kind of a weird way to go, because usually they'll want it linear. Usually they'll want like 10, 15, 20, right? They'll want it a linear progression. But instead, they just kind of buff his early game, which he kind of needs. Because his mid and late game are actually pretty good. The big one base damage, 150 to 180 to 280. That's big too. This is 30, this is 30, the next one's also 30. So this is just a straight 30 buff. Really nice Corki changes. I actually like that. You might see him a little bit more now. Base health. Like, he's still gonna probably suck. You know? He's still gonna suck. Because the reality is he builds Trinity Force, and it's ridiculously expensive. So, it's like, you know, like, by the time he gets Trinity Force, everybody else has 1.5 items. So, these might help him a little bit. Like, you might see him a bit. If you're like silver, you're probably gonna see him, because they do that. Silver players do that all the time. They see like little tiny buffs. Like, they're gonna see these Caitlyn buffs, and they're gonna play Caitlyn, and then they're gonna go on 10. And then they're gonna blame Riot because they didn't buff the champion enough. Singed. Is Singed bad? Base health up by 30. It's kinda nice. He needs a lot of health because of the way he operates, like going in between towers and farming like that. If you're one of those Singed players. But most people don't do that properly, and they just die anyways. So this 30 health actually doesn't do anything for those players who are playing him improperly. Fling 4 to 8, 6 to 8. That's actually really nice. What you might want to do now on Singed is go max out Q and then 3 points E to make it 7%. So it's the same thing as your rank 4, I think. Or really just do like 3 points E, because 1% isn't really a big deal at that point. And then just max out your W. That's probably the best way to go, I think. That might be the way to go now with him. You might go 3 points into E. Tristana, base damage on her explosive charge, 60 to 100. So it's up by 10. That's cool, I guess. That's whatever. Ratio 0.5 to 1.1. Bonus attack damage to 0.5 to 1.3. Oh. Oh. Okay. It's good, but it's not that good. People will look at it and they'll be like 1.1 to 1.3. Oh my god, that's so good. But what they don't understand is ADCs like Tristana especially, they usually like until like Infinity Edge at least, you build mostly crit and attack speed. You don't build that much AD actually. Like that's why I usually don't like ratio buffs on AD carries, because they don't actually get a lot of attack damage. Despite, being an attack damage carry. Right? They don't actually get that much until they have like 2-3 items. Which sometimes the game's over before then it happens. It definitely happens. Maximum damage 132 to 220 to 1.1 to 2.42. Oh, that was the minimum damage then. Okay. So 2.86. Holy. She might be good again. That's a massive buff. Like, yeah, she doesn't get much AD, but even just a longsword is going to add 30 damage. It went from 2.4, so it's more like adding like 5 or 6 damage. But that's a longsword, right? What if you get like 60 AD? 60 AD is gonna be like 30-40 damage. That's pretty significant. I like that. Improves Tristana's ability to blow up people in the mid game. Yeah, basically. That's pretty much what you're doing there. Blighted Quiver, uncharged active damage, 6 to 10 at levels 1 through 13. Now it's 6 to 14. Still missing health, so just wow, that's just a hard 40% buff at max rank. You might max W instead of E second. I think people were maxing E. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what people were maxing second, because I don't really play him. That's pretty good though. That's really good. Like you might just max W. Yeah, you probably just max W, or 3 points W into E actually could be a thing. Because a lot of these changes you could do the 3 points into another ability, kind of like you do with Kassadin. You go 3 points. You can go 3 points into Q and then max out your E. So this could be a similar situation, and that was just uncharged active damage. What does that even mean? Oh, it's when you don't fully charge your Q. Okay, so when you do fully charge it, which is most of the time, it's actually even bigger. Yeah, you could actually go 3 points W, because the third rank is the same as the previous max rank now. And this is just based on your levels, actually. Never mind. It's not actually going off of ranks of W. Whoops. So that's just a hard buff to him. Never mind. That's just a massive buff. Okay, Chain of Corruption. This is a really powerful ability, so it's really scary when it does get buffed. So they have to be really careful about giving him buffs like this, especially if they're going to give him a massive buff to heal. Like, I would prefer they actually just do this and then see where he's at instead of doing all of this at once. Because usually when they do all stuff like this at once, it's like boom, the champion goes from like 48 to like 52% win rate. Right? He's winning way too many games, way too freaking strong. And keep in mind, we're gonna be on this patch for about a month. Like we're gonna be on this patch for a while until January, I think 23rd is when season 9 starts. So this is gonna be this is a really good buff to theirs. He might be a menace in bottom lane. Also, keep in mind he'd be good into Heimerdinger bot. Heimerdinger bot's basically S tier right now. He's pretty good into that because he can outrange turrets and he can Q the Heimerdinger and like use his E. He can just poke. He can poke people. One of the few AD carries that actually has good poke. So chain of corruption 100 to 250 to 150 to 250. Same ability power ratio. So that's something. So it goes 50 damage at rank 1 and then 25 at rank 2. So it's really strong early game. 150 damage is respectable considering you root them for 2 seconds. And you're gonna get an auto attack or two off anyways. That's pretty considerable. Like this mixed in with some autos plus the W increase, you're gonna be actually just you're gonna be like old Kha'Zix with your W plus Q combo. That's pretty nasty. Warwick. Yeah, Warwick sucks. Don't see him. They give him 280. Okay, that helps like a little bit. Like the helps is clear, that helps is Q, but ultimately it's not really what makes Warwick kind of sucky. I think they should actually buff his W so that you don't have to max W to gank. Because right now it's really hard to actually do anything, actually do any like sort of realistic ganks if you don't max your W. Like I would prefer to be able to like max out my Q or my E, but I guess maxing Q doesn't really do much. So just give some Q, like give me more incentive to max Q and buff the W. This does nothing. This actually does nothing. I mean, it does something, but it's not very much. Forbidden Idol, cooldown 5 to 10. Wow, that's big, actually. 800 gold for 10% CDI. Like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Supports will love this. Ardent Sensor, heal and shield 8 to 10. Okay, so they're buffing the heal and shield powers. Yeah, 5 to 20. 8 to 10 on redemption. So kind of like almost wanting to bring back Ardent Sensor meta, but it's not gonna happen because there's a ton of damage in the game right now. It's a really early game and heavy damage meta, so doing buffs like these aren't gonna bring back Ardent Sensor meta because you're just gonna burn through all those shields because of the extra damage. So this is fine. This is good. Supports will notice this a tiny bit. Actually, they probably won't. They probably won't notice 2%. They'll notice like this. If somebody gets Mikkel's, your shields will be noticeably stronger. You're not going to notice redemption. You'll notice Forbidden Idol. Of course, that's significant. Simple nerfs. No, they did the Cassadin change. Screw you guys. I'm so sad just looking at this Kassadin there. I'm so depressed now. I'm so depressed. God damn it. Oh man. Trample base damage 100 to 200 over 5 seconds. Now it's 80 to 200. Doesn't do anything. He's still going to be the best support. He's the best support because he is super reliable. And the matchups are all good for him. Except for a few, but for the most part, there's not many poke bot laners being played right now. This doesn't do much. Empowered auto boost. Empowered attack bonus damage. Oh my god, was it that good? Jeez. Was it that strong? I didn't know it was that strong. That's pretty significant, actually. The early game is significant. The late game is useless. It's 20 damage throughout. So that doesn't do anything. Or like it doesn't do anything at like level 18, right? But this will hurt his laning phase a little bit. And same with the trample. So they're really just hitting his lane. Cassio, I've been seeing Cassio almost all the time now, and she's really obnoxious because she just grabs a domination tree and she takes Comet and Qs me, and she has Comet up basically every 2 Qs because she has a Q and then it does DOT, which reduces Comet CDR, and her Q is on a freaking such a low cooldown that she can just spam Q, and get Comet off every second Q. And you can't deal with the damage because when she does hit you with Q and that Comet lands, and believe me, it's going to land sometimes. Like, you can't dodge it every time. I mean, I guess you could, but it's really difficult to do that. Most people are not going to be able to do that, including myself. And it's really annoying to deal with because every time she uses Q, she does 150 damage to 200 damage to you throughout like levels 1 through 5. Like before she even gets a recall off. She does 150 damage when she Qs you. And that Comet adds even more. It is really obnoxious. Base damage 75 to 275 to 75 to 255. That'll help with that. And the cooldown, or mana, 50 to 70, 50 to 90, so she's not going to be able to spam as much. I like this. I like these changes. I think she deserves those changes. Excellent. Base mana regen for Kassadin is 8 to 6. Yep. So, if I'm not mistaken, that is 1.6 mana per second down to 1.2. That's what was on the the PB. Oops. Yeah, it's 1.6. Down to 1.2. That's so what this comes down to. I did the math, and it comes down to taking away 40 HP from him roughly every 90 seconds or so. It's like 80 or something, but that's every 3 waves. Every 3 waves, he's losing 40 HP. Unless you're at 100, which is very unlikely. You're going to be sitting at 100%. You're going to take some sort of damage. You're Kassadin. You can't really trade that well in the early game. The best you could do is soak some damage with your Q. But you're not going to be 100%. You're always going to be regenerating some health. So pretty much every 3 waves, you're losing 40 health. So before your first back, you're losing like 200 health. I don't think Riot realizes how big of a nerf this actually is. You lose so much health now. It's just sitting in lane, you're losing a buttload of health. This is the equivalent of Soraka's health regen. Soraka's health regen is like 0.9 or something. But that's fine because she has her Q to get healing back. Kassadin doesn't have any of that. It's like, this is way too hard of a nerf. I don't, like, of course I'm biased, right? Might be like, well, but you play Kassadin all the time, so you're biased. It's like, yeah, I'm biased, but do the math. Right? You're losing 40 HP every 3 waves? Like, before your first recall, you're gonna lose about 160 health. It's too much. And Nico, so let's go with Nico. This champion's Q is insane. Her E, like, her W is the most, it's even more broken than Zoe's W. It might actually be more broken than Zoe's W. Actually, no, Zoe's W is way more broken. But at least they kind of nerfed it and stuff. But the problem I have with Nico is mid lane, anyways. With mid lane Nico, this is pertaining to mid lane Nico. is mid lane Nico. Right, mid lane Nico, she can just throw at her E, and you can't dodge it, and it goes through minions, and it roots you for like a second to a second and a half, and you can't dodge it. The speed on her E is so incredibly fast that there's almost no way to dodge it. You have to basically bait it out. It's like a Xerath Q. Like you have to kind of go to one side and hope to God that like, okay, maybe she throws it, and then you just sidestep, right? But the problem is there's nothing telling you she's gonna throw it out. At least with Xerath, you know, you can see him. He's charging up his Q. It's super obvious. But her E, she just throws it out whenever she wants to. And then she follows it up with a Q and takes half your health bar. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, there's no counterplay to it because there's nothing for you to do with it. Like, you just have to hope to God that maybe you can bait it out. Which is, like, pretty much impossible to do. Like, imagine if you're landing against the Xerath and you couldn't see him channeling his Q. And his Q would just randomly come out every now and then. He would just randomly throw it out, and you had no idea when it was coming. Xerath would be the most broken mid laner ever. He would be the most broken mid laner to exist. Right? That would be insane, right? Because you couldn't see it coming. It's the same thing with her E. Like, I don't know why they think it's healthy. It's not healthy. Like, either make it like a 0.5 root, so I can at least walk out of the queue in time for the second proc to hit. Like, so I can at least avoid some damage, or slow the speed so I can dodge it. Or make some sort of indicator, or like channel time for her to throw it out. Like the Xerath Q. Right now, there's just nothing you can do. It just comes out, and you're just like, oh, I got hit. Okay, there's half my health. Okay, I get hit again. Okay, I'm either dead, or okay, I have to recall. Like, it's obnoxious. It shouldn't be going through minions too. It should never be like a route that goes through minions is the best gank setup you could ask for. Like that is disgusting. It's so fast you can't dodge it, and it goes through minions. Like, what more can you ask for when you're playing jungle, and your mid laner has basically a guaranteed stun? Right? It's like a Twisted Fate, but at least Twisted Fate starts to pull out his cards, right? And you have like 2 seconds. You have 1.5 seconds before he can like pull that gold card, unless he just, you know, spams his W key and magically gets a gold card, right? Sometimes that happens, but for the most part, people will press W, they'll wait for the cycle, and they'll wait for the gold card, and then they'll stun you. So you can flash before that time, or you can bring a cleanse, right? But Nico, she just throws out her E, throws out her Q, and if you bring cleanse, you're not gonna want to cleanse that every time you get hit. Like, that's not realistic. But it's realistic for a Twisted Fate, because if a jungler's there and you just get rooted, like, maybe cleanse is fine against her. Maybe Riot wants you to bring cleanse against her. But that's my problem with Nico. I might be ranting, but that's my problem with Nico. Initial base damage down by 10. Oh wow, fuck, unplayable. Good God, wow, oh my God, unplayable, completely unplayable. Okay, completely gutted. Jesus Christ, 10 damage. That's absolutely unreal. Base bounce damage. Keep in mind this happens twice. So this is another 10 damage. Again, oh my God, unplayable. Alright, let's move on. I've had enough of Nico. So Tiamat, this is ridiculous. Tiamat has always been too strong. It used to actually have 40 AD. I'll let that sink in for a minute. 40 attack damage. Same gold, by the way. Used to be 40 AD, now they nerfed it to 25. Now they're increasing the cost. Okay, Ravenous Hydra and Titanic cost 125 less gold to upgrade. Total cost unchanged. Okay, that's nice, I guess. Tiamat, Tiamat, Tiamat. Yeah, people might still grab this. They're probably still gonna get it. Honestly, it's another. That's another 2 waves though, free to stay. So the laners, if they want to get Tiamat, they have to stay for another 2 waves. And the junglers that want to take it, that's probably like 2 camps. So it's another minute. They're basically delaying the time for you to get it another minute. You know, and if you wanna like stay in lane, try to get it like that 2 waves, that could be brutal for you. So I like the change, and I like that it's 1325 instead of just 1300. That pretty much guarantees that you have to stay for an additional 2 waves, or 2 camps. Right, it's the equivalent of I think about 2 camps. 6 conversions. I never see this item at all. I don't even notice it happen. Like I don't think people are taking it, but I think that's just because they're stupid. They don't actually do the math on it, because it's actually a really good item. Your linked allies' basic attacks burn enemies for 50 to 30 bonus magic damage over 2 seconds. That's really good, because 50% of an 80 carry's basic attack is pretty huge. It's pretty much like a Leandri's on steroids, right? Or like a Malzy, or like any DOT. It's really strong. So now it's 30. That's acceptable. That's fine. Turret plating done its job of extending landing phase for cases for teams burn down turrets as quickly as possible in less violent lanes, though. Outer turrets fall easily once plating falls off. Yeah, they do. They fall off freaking quick. They fall off so fast, man. They're just like I can just solo it with like 1 wave. As anybody too, you could just solo it with like 1 wave. Once it falls off. Like even like it's even it's such a big deal that I decide like if there's plating and it's like 13 minutes or like 13:30, I'm just gonna take the recall, right? Come back, and we'll finish it off later, when it's easier, right? Because turret plating is gonna fall off. So armor magic is to 40. That is actually massive. That's the equivalent of when you're hitting the 3rd plate. That is actually a really big deal. You're not gonna be able to get this down for a while. Actually, like if they stay up, like say they're like 80% health, and the turret plating falls, it's not like you're just gonna break the turret with 1 wave. Like it's gonna take like 2 or 3 now. It's gonna take a team effort. It's not just gonna go down through a fart in the wind. It's not gonna go down like that anymore. Alright, that was it for my patch rundown. I like the Tiamat changes. I don't like the Kassadin changes. I think you could have hit him in other ways. For sure. Like, you didn't need to do this big of a nerf. Maybe half of this would be fine. You know, just what they need to do is just hit his health. Like, take away 30 health. Right, that's all you need to do is take away 30 health. And he'll be okay. Like, take away 30 health, you'll probably reduce his win rate by like a half to 1%. Or like 50 health. 50 might be too much. Or they just go 8 to 7 instead of 8 to 6. I don't think they realize 8 to 6 is pretty massive. I think 8 to 7 would be better. This is too much. And they say they're tying his early game more tightly to his Q. Like, that's bullshit. That's just bullshit. They're just simply giving him less health throughout the laning phase. A lot less health. It's quite a bit less health. Nico, they needed to nerf her way harder than this. Make her E, like somewhat dodgeable. Like, give me something with it. right now it just comes out, it goes through minions, there's nothing I can do. So she's still going to be broken beyond belief, and it looks like we're going to be basically seeing her for the next month. And also banning her for the next month. So she's pretty much going to be banned for the next month. Good luck being a Nico one-trick. All of you Nico one-tricks. Tiamat change, good. Cassio changes, I like the Cassio changes. I kind of wish they would have nerfed the base damage on Q in the earlier stages. Like, maybe 75 to like 65. But they did nerf the mana cost pretty big. So that in turn nerfs the base damage, so I guess this is probably okay. That's probably fine. Alistar doesn't do anything. Support changes doesn't do anything. Warwick changes doesn't do anything. Varus, you're probably gonna see him a lot more actually. Tristana, you might see her a bit more, not as much as Varus, I would imagine. Singed, you might go 3 points into E and then into W now. Corki, nice buff. Probably still not going to see him because people suck at landing skill shots. Caitlyn is actually a pretty nice buff for Caitlyn. You're probably not going to see her that much still, just because I think people are incapable of playing Caitlyn properly. Because there's a lot to think about when you're like team fighting with her, like putting down your traps properly and using your E properly and everything. It's difficult for people to get. You know, and they might say, like, no, man, I'm a good Caitlyn player. It's like, yeah, no, you're not. Like, you're not a good Caitlyn player, man. Like, trust me. Like, he's like, I'm a good Caitlyn player, and he has 600 games and he's in Silver 5 with Caitlyn, right? Like, you're not a good Caitlyn player, I'm sorry. Pike needed more nerfs than this. They needed to touch his early game, which they didn't do anything. They decided to go with the mid to late game, which, like, I like the mid-game changes. This is nice. This is the only good changes, but 50 damage at level 18 doesn't do anything because by that time he's already executing 800 health targets. So that doesn't matter. They hit his wave clear, and also they made Tiamat expensive, right? They made Tiamat more expensive down here, right? 1325. So that nerfs Pike. That already nerfs Pike's wave clear because it's harder to get Tiamat. Right, so actually pretty nice Pike changes, like in terms of the wave clear and in terms of this change here is nice. I would have preferred them to just hard hit his R because his R is way too strong. Akali, super nice changes. This is the best change of this patch is the Akali changes. These are absolutely amazing changes. I love these changes. I would have preferred them to actually put some damage into her kit though, like put some damage back into her R. Especially because her R base damage is really low. It's like 125. That's super low. Right, that's really low, and her win rate reflects it too. Win rate's not everything. I understand this, but her win rate's severely low. Like it's 46%. She's really low. She's like a 0 rise level. You know, when those champs were actually played competitive, right when they had like crappy solo queue win rates, it's basically Akali. Akali's that champion right now. Alright, thanks for watching everybody who does watch.